And so 2 years in, he said to me, one day you could be general counsel. And I said to him, wow, Bob, you think I could do your job? And he said, no, no, no. You could be the general counsel of Lockheed Martin Corporation. And I just thought to myself, you know what? If Bob Downing thinks I can do this, this is what I want to do. And so I just kind of kept that seed was planted that day. And I had no idea how I was going to get there. I mean, at the time, there were probably a handful, if that, of Black female general counsel in the Fortune 1000. And I just thought, like, I had no idea. But it really kind of inspired me and showed me the art of the possible. And I just kind of set that goal on that day.
I love that because it rings true about so many people in our lives sometimes seeing more in us than we see in ourselves.
Good Monday morning. Have you ever wondered how successful and happy people got their starts? Every success story begins somewhere, often more humbly than you'd expect. I'm Leilani Brown, host of Your First Job, the podcast.
Good Monday morning. Wanji Walcott is here with us today to talk about your first job and all things career related. And we're just so excited. You are in for a treat. Wanji Walcott is the Chief Legal Officer and Chief Business Affairs Officer for Pinterest. And we're going to talk about career. And we're also going to learn a little bit, if she will tell us, about what's on her Pinterest board. But first of all, welcome.
Thank you so much, Leilani. It's so great to see you. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning. Good morning. If you are able to see this, eventually our listeners will be viewers and they'll be able to see this. I am looking at Wanji's beautiful face, but I'm also looking at a very color coordinated bookshelf behind her. And I am just mesmerized by this. Please tell me the inspiration behind this before we get into the conversation.
Absolutely. So this idea to color coordinate the bindings of my books was a Pinterest idea. That I saw on Pinterest a couple of years ago. And I thought, I'm going to do that one day. But I just, for some reason, I never really took the time to do it. And then when I finally did it and I realized, wow, that only took about 10 minutes. I thought, wow, it's so great to be able to use things in your space to make your space kind of colorful and kind of fun. And I also have, you'll notice on the shelf over my shoulder, I have a Pinterest pin as well, which kind of also color coordinates with some of the colors on my bookshelf. So
absolutely
loving getting inspiration from Pinterest.
I love that. I love the fun aspect. I mean, our lawyers are allowed to have fun at work. Let me just ask you this question because, I think there's an element of fun and, dare I say, joy in the work, even though it's really hard work and it's legal work.
Agreed. So, fortunately for me, I love the work that I'm doing. I love where I'm doing it and I love who I'm doing it with. And I love the fact that you use the word joy because it's a word I've been thinking about a lot this year. I feel very blessed that the work that I'm doing gives me and brings me joy. And I think that's largely because our mission is really to inspire people to live a life that they love. And I can't think of anything more kind of joyous than that. And so we are all really committed to that. And the one thing I think all of us at Pinterest have in common is our mission that resonates with each and every one of us and knowing the joy that we can bring to people, whether they are kind of seeking inspiration in their environment that they live in or that they work in, or if you're a teacher decorating your classroom, if you're looking for fashion advice, inspirational kind of quotes. I mean, we're here, home decor, we're here to kind of serve that up for you. And so I also have the good fortune of having a role that expands beyond legal. So I want to, I don't want to forget my non-legal team members that work to support the great work that we do just in terms of keeping our platform kind of safe and positive. But knowing that we're doing that good work is also really important as well. And I look forward to talking a little bit later about some of the work that we're doing to ensure kind of more positive emotional well-being outcomes.
I love that. Let's combine it and converge it. So tell us in your words, how would you describe your role today and what you do for a living?
Sure. For a great question. So as you stated at the outset, my title is Chief Legal and Business Affairs Officer. And what that means is I look after our legal department, our compliance organization, our government relations and social responsibility team, which has responsibility for government relations, public affairs, which are our relationships with our civil society partners. We have a lot of those, together with ESG and sustainability, and philanthropy and social impact, which are our employee giving and volunteerism programs. And then I also have responsibility for a team that we call Trust and Safety, which is really focused on the policies and enforcement of the policies that govern what is going to show up on our platform. So, we've got to figure out, are we going to allow political ads on our platform? And the answer is no, because we don't think that's what people are coming to Pinterest to see in terms of their quest for inspiration. Are we going to allow bullying and hate speech? The answer is no, because we want to be that positive corner of the internet. But as you might imagine, on a platform where the content is user generated, people are trying to put up a whole host of things. And so that team is really tasked with figuring out kind of what are the rules of the road for our platform and how do we enforce those rules. And it is such important and difficult work to kind of keep up with ensuring that we've got kind of the right content on our platform, not only content that is kind of responsive to what our pinners, which is what we refer to our users as, not only responsive to what our pinners are searching for, but also just positive, because that's really who we're trying to be.
Yeah. I mean, dynamic and then uber dynamic. When you talk about the rate of change for technology and application of the same content, so rich and ripe with change and innovation all the time. Certainly, you're not doing what you thought you were going to be doing when you graduated from law school. What did you think that you were going to be doing?
Yeah. So maybe I'll take like a tiny step back and say, when I was in law school, my goal was to get a job in international public interest. So I wanted to do something international, and I wanted to do something that mattered and made a difference. Now, unfortunately for me, I did not find a job in international public interest or anything near that. And instead, my first job out of law school was at Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin Information Management Services, they were a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin Corporation focused on state and local government contracting. And that's where I got a job. And I was in the legal department there, which was amazing in so many ways, because first and foremost, when you are contracting with state and local government contractors, a lot of the decision makers look like you and I. Mm-hmm. And so they were very focused on, this is the kind of early mid 90s. They were very focused on ensuring that they had a workforce that mirrored the partners in state and local government that they were trying to win contracts from. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that my first job at a law school was a really diverse environment. And so I had this notion that, wow, corporate America is really diverse. This is amazing. And everyone's really kind of thinking about diversity and inclusion at the time as a business imperative. I love this. This is great.
Right. And add to that, if I can just add in, for anybody that hasn't researched you or Googled you yet, you are a graduate from Howard University Law School.
That's
and
right.
So then you're going to school in Washington, D.C. You're a graduate of Howard. You go into this organization that has really the intended consequence of having a diverse workforce.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was unexpected. But it was so empowering for me to have that as my first job experience, because, although I was a lawyer in the legal department, there were so many other senior Black executives in our company who were amazing, kind of took me under their wing. A few of them, for some reason, I ended up on interview panels to interview them when they came in, which was astonishing because I was a baby lawyer and really didn't know a lot. But to have some of those executives say, my gosh, part of why I decided to take this job was, meeting you and seeing your face and knowing that you were here and that we were kind of building this community here and going out and, contracting with state and local governments to really kind of be change agents. So 2 years into my time at Lockheed Martin, my boss, I will call him out by name because he was such an influence in my career and life, frankly, Bob Downing. He was the general counsel of our operating company. And he said to me, you're doing great, Wanji. And what I loved about him and what I learned about him is he gave a lot of feedback. Say more of this, or you had this good idea when we met one-on-one. Why didn't you say it in the bigger meeting? Or kind of, why did you draft this way? Here, use this as an example. Don't do that, do this, say this, say more of that, whatever. And so 2 years in, he said to me, one day you could be general counsel. And I said to him, wow, Bob, you think I could do your job? And he said, no. You could be the general counsel of Lockheed Martin Corporation. And just to give you context, he was the general counsel of Lockheed Martin Information Management Services Company, which is where we worked. He reported to a regional general counsel who reported to the general counsel of Lockheed Martin Corporation. And he said, Wanji, you could be the general counsel of Lockheed Martin Corporation one day. And I was 2 years out of law school. And I said, what are you talking about? But that seed was planted that day. I mean, I feel I can close my eyes and see myself sitting, kind of on the other side of his big kind of cherry desk and him telling me this. And I just thought to myself, you know what, if Bob Downing thinks I can do this, this is what I want to do. Yes. And so I just kind of kept that seed was planted that day. And I had no idea how I was going to get there. I mean, at the time, there were probably a handful, if that, of Black female general counsel in the Fortune 1000. And I just thought, I had no idea. But it really kind of inspired me and showed me the art of the possible. And I just kind of set that goal on that day.
I love that, because it rings true about so many people in our lives, sometimes seeing more in us than we see in ourselves. What I also love about that, and I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to offer a little bit of a circuitous way to get there. Mm-hmm. What I like about that so much, or love about that so much, is you're talking about ambition and being unapologetic about ambition. I just finished, I couldn't put down Ketanji Brown Jackson's, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's memoir, Lovely One. And in it, she talks about the competing themes of imposter syndrome as well as ambition, and understanding at a very early age, probably in college, that she had aspirations to be a Supreme Court justice. Mm-hmm. And in having that ambition, and telling the right people, not everybody, but telling the right people and the right supporters, it became their ambition too. It was her husband's ambition. It became the children's ambition. It became her community's ambition.
Yes.
I think 2 years out of law school, you identifying this ambition to be general counsel of a major corporation was your parallel story.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about how you built a community of people that adopted that ambition for you and that did that over time? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I would say yes. A lot of what you just shared really resonates, because I think, early when I first heard that, it's not as though I went home that day and said, okay, I'm going to start telling everybody I'm going to be a general counsel, because I mean, honestly, at that time, I thought, okay, if Bob says I can do this, I should definitely pursue this, but I wasn't sure if, how, when, so on and so forth. But as my career progressed, and largely in part to a lot of the lessons I learned from Bob Downing, my first boss, I started selectively sharing that goal with other people. Now, the interesting thing when you start doing that is you'll have some people who are like, that's great, they're believers, maybe they can help you. And then some people who are skeptical. And I had some people say to me, well, I don't know if that's going to happen, or, you may be reaching too high. And at first, I think the first time I shared that with someone who wasn't, kind of effusive and saying like, oh my gosh, of course you can do this. It actually made me a little sad and demoralized. But I would say maybe the second time I heard that, I thought, you know what, I'm going to show this person, you know what, yeah, you have your ambitions, I have mine. I'm not going to let you slow me down. But I will say another pivotal point for me in that journey was kind of facilitated by the Executive Leadership Council, the ELC, in that I was selected to be in, I can't remember the name of the program, but it was sort of like a years-long leadership program where a lot of different like mid-level leaders came together in a cohort and had like intensive leadership training that was not just kind of a one-off seminar, but like a years-long program. And as part of that, we were told that we were all going to be assigned mentors to kind of help us in our journey. And I remember sitting with some of the folks in my cohort, and many of whom I'm still friends with to this day, and this was like over 20 years ago. And I remember when we were waiting for our mentor-mentee assignments and matches, they got to me and they said, okay, you know, your mentor is this gentleman by the name of Saul Watson, who was the retired ELC member, retired general counsel at the New York Times Company. And I remember being so short-sighted at the time, and I was thinking, wait, but he's retired. And I was kind of listening to the rest of the cohort who was saying, oh, my mentor is a managing director at Goldman Sachs, and this other kind of currently operating person. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, am I disadvantaged by having someone who's retired? Like, oh my gosh. Now, in retrospect, that was so idiotic, because the value and benefit of being matched with Saul is that in our first meeting, he said, my schedule's wide open. I can meet you at your office, at whatever place you and time you tell me, I am there. And so we began an amazing mentor-mentee relationship where he had nothing but time. And so I became actually very curious about kind of him and kind of what he was doing as someone who was newly retired. And he was really focused on his fishing. And so I tried to kind of bone up on fishing. And like, if I was in the airport traveling for work, you'd go to the newsstand, I'd see 3 fishing magazines, I'd buy them, I'd like send them articles, all of those things. But I realized kind of the value of a two-way street in a mentor-mentee relationship. So fast forward in this program, some of my, contemporaries were saying, "Oh, my mentor never returned my call or my email. And I met with them once." And then at the end of the year-plus long program, I remember our ELC facilitator said, "You have to decide if you want to continue your relationship with your mentor, and if you do, just ask them, and they may or may not agree or what have you." And so I definitely wanted to continue the relationship. So I reached out to Saul and I said, "Hey, program's wrapping up, but I've really enjoyed our time together. I've learned a lot from you. I'd like to continue doing that." And he said, absolutely. Yeah. And that was in, I want to say 2005 or so. And my husband and I just had breakfast with Saul and his wife on Monday.
Oh, nice. That's wonderful.
We are like lifelong friends. And I say all that to say, Leilani, because he is someone who said, you want to be a general counsel, I'm going to help you. And he surely did. And as I, throughout my career, had been thinking about new opportunities, he would always help me assess them in a way that wasn't kind of telling me what to do, but in a way that was really helping me to kind of be thoughtful about, is this the right opportunity, whether it was internal or external, that's going to get me one step closer to my goal. And so whether it is, how do you navigate with your own new general counsel boss, or how do you think about preparing yourself, getting the skills necessary? He was very instrumental in helping me to do that, and definitely a cheerleader. And to see him now, and one of the things he said to me on Monday when we had breakfast is he said, "I'm so proud of you." And I just thought, yeah, it was just, so rewarding and fulfilling. And he is one of many people who's been just a great mentor, and really support system to me as my career has progressed.
Yeah, it probably lands differently coming from a person that's so accomplished and retired, that's been through the continuum like him.
Yes. Yeah. And he has seen it all. And again, like I said in the beginning, I was so short-sighted because I just thought, oh, he's not even really working anymore. But it was such a blessing and a gift because he had nothing but time for me.
Yes.
And just really solid advice. And, I could call him if something wasn't going right or if something didn't feel right. And he was always super supportive and really just positive in terms of his really wise counsel.
Yeah. I would just add one more thing to retired, quite frankly, quote unquote people or rewired people, that they have a freedom of expression that is unmatched by anybody that is working for or tethered or modulating for a company. The things they can say plainly to get to the point, I think is unmatched.
Yes.
Yes.
So I've lesson learned there.
Yes.
A wise counsel to be gleaned from those who are rewiring or rewiring.
Yes, yes, yes. So, you are also a mom of two wonderful Gen Z daughters.
Yes.
And I would imagine that you have a point of view and you've been giving them counsel over time. What's been some of the advice that you've given them as they've entered the workforce and
Oh my
started to pursue career?
Yeah. First and foremost, figure out what you want to do. And figure out how you can change this world. I have told my kids, both of my kids went to boarding school. And I remember telling them when they went off to boarding school, leave this place better than how you found it. Like, think
Mhm.
about what you can do to put your imprint on this place. And look, when you're sending your kids to high school, they're 13, 14 years old, you're not thinking, wow, they're going to really be huge change agents. You're not even sure that they're listening to you when you're kind of
Right.
these things in their ear. But I will say both of my girls have taken that to heart. And I think they went to two different schools, and I saw it in boarding school. I saw it in college. I really do think they've been very thoughtful about, like, how can I, and even in a small way, how can I make this place better than how I found it? So I think they definitely think about that. I've also advised them to figure out what they want to do, and which is not easy. But find something you want to do and just go for it. And don't let anyone deter you. Don't even let me deter you.
Yeah.
And I will say, my oldest daughter is an influencer, which is a very non-traditional career path, but she has built a very successful business around this. And when she first told me after college and after grad school that she thought she was going to pursue this full time, I may not have been the most supportive mother. I think a lot of that comes from ignorance, not knowing anything about kind of what it is to be a content creator, what the art of the possible is in being a content creator.
Sure.
I am like a lifelong desk jockey. And so I just didn't understand or appreciate it. But now seeing what she has been able to accomplish, and kind of reading about articles that have been written about her and her work, I am so proud that, in spite of my saying kind of what I was sharing before, some are going to say, you're not going to be able to be a general counsel. That might be, a bridge too far for you. Even with a mother who was saying, I don't know about that, she said, no, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it. And she has gone for it and has experienced a tremendous amount of success. So I'm super proud of her.
Congratulations to her, to both of them, but congratulations to her, because it is important work, influential work, meaningful work with a different name. It's media, it's agency, it's brand, it's creative, it's strategy, it's audience cultivation, it's all of those things.
Yeah.
What is her handle? What is her area of focus? We'll shout her out.
Yeah, sure. So her name is Atiya Walcott. And she is on Instagram, she's on TikTok, she's on YouTube, and has monetized all of those. And her theme of her work is OOTD, which stands for Outfit of the Day.
Outfit of the day.
All fashion related.
Yes, yes.
So check her out.
And here you find yourself in similar fields.
Yes, and right. And now, I mean, I see, content creators kind of working with Pinterest on our site, and I see what people are doing to kind of build up their own brands on our site. And I'm thinking, okay, this is real work.
Yeah.
And it also brings people joy. And so there are some, sort of common themes throughout both of
Yes,
our work.
yes. So I understand about the legal part of the work, that's sort of, I think, well understood. Expanded a little bit on business affairs and also workplace wellness. And you use this word community, which I think is so important, because people actually choose to work at companies based on how they think they will feel. They choose to join communities. I love this idea that workforce is community. Talk to us about the other parts of your job.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, our mission is to inspire everyone to live a life that they love. And part of that is really focused on kind of being that positive corner of the internet. So, kind of, I would say broadly, the business affairs portion, kind of the non-legal compliance portions of my work, are really focused on kind of getting that positivity kind of message out there. The other work that my team is very focused on is supporting our inclusive search work. And so in the past kind of year or two, we have rolled out a number of new features kind of under the umbrella of inclusive search. And so what that means is you can search for hairstyles based on hair pattern on our site. So, you're not just kind of we're not recommending hairstyles to you that do not work for you based on your hair texture and hair pattern. You can also search for recommendations and results based on skin tone and skin color, which is great. So you can see yourself reflected in our platform. You don't have to just imagine, well, kind of what would that look like if I weren't, I'm not blonde, I don't have blue eyes, I'm, whatever, not white. What would that look like on me? So you can search that way. And then our latest inclusive search feature is around body type. So you can search via body type. Not everybody is, a size 18. Not everybody is a size 2. There's like a whole spectrum of sizes, body shapes. And so you can search based on body type as well. And so our mission around our inclusive search features are to really position all of our pinners to see themselves reflected in the platform. And that's been really well received. And really positive. So we're at the center of that work as well. And then also my team is very focused, as I mentioned, in a lot of our civil society kind of relationships and partnerships. And so one example of that is we recently launched something called the Youth Mental Health Corps. And we launched that kind of in partnership with the Schultz Family Foundation, kind of founders of Starbucks, as well as AmeriCorps. And what we've done is we've partnered with kind of almost a dozen states where we are going out and training young people ages 18 to 24 to be youth mental health advocates. They're not therapists, but they're advocates under the guise of going out into communities, so getting offline. So this isn't like an online thing, but like getting out into the world where we all live and exist. And recognizing that young people want to hear from young people. So yes, I could go to a school or a community center and talk to young people. It may or may not land, but young people want to hear from young people. And we know that kind of based on what we've seen with traditional social media and kind of the toxicity there, based on what we've seen coming through COVID and the kind of, mental health challenges that has created, and also hearing from the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, that one of the biggest health challenges we're battling right now is youth mental health. And so we sought out to kind of see what we could do to do our part, not just online in terms of being positive, but offline, which is, getting back to this youth mental health course. So we're going out training these youth mental health advocates who are going out into schools, community centers, and really just providing resource information and access to information to ensure better mental health outcomes for our youth. Because, there is a whole swath of people in our society, largely young people and others who are really negatively impacted, again, by social media, traditional social media, and also kind of all the kind of disadvantages that were brought about by COVID. So we're very proud of that work as well. And so again, we're very focused on kind of doing our part, not just online on our platform, but also offline as well, to ensure just better outcomes.
If a person wants to sign up to be a youth mental health ambassador in that way and be trained, where can they go to find information?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you were to Google Youth Mental Health Corps Pinterest, it should bring you to a place where you can find out how to sign up to be a kind of Youth Mental Health Corps ambassador and kind of get out in the communities where we're doing this. We hope to be rolling it out in many more states. But I encourage everyone to get involved. There's a way we can all get involved to solve challenge.
We will make sure to link it in the show notes. What was your first job?
Yeah.
Where did you start?
Fantastic. So my first job was in high school, and I worked at the Burlington Mall in Burlington, Massachusetts at a store called Cherry, Web and Terrain. I think it was afterwards called Cherry and Web, and I think it no longer exists, but it was a ladies' clothing store. And I loved working there. I started out on the floor, folding clothes, hanging clothes back up. And then I worked in the dressing room a bit, which I hated. And then I finally worked my way up to being a cashier, which I loved. And the reason I loved being a cashier is because you got to talk to people when they were making their purchase, right? So they have already kind of gone through the racks, found what they want. They're excited about their purchase, so they're in a good mood.
Right.
They're happy. And then the other perk of being a cashier is you always ask people on the way out if they wanted to open a Cherry Web and Terrain credit card. And then I think for every credit card account I opened, I got maybe $25.
Wow.
But I thought I was in high school and I thought like everyone's getting a credit card today. And so I loved signing people up for a credit card. And
now you understand when you go to the store and they're trying to push these credit cards on you, you're like, now I get it.
Yes, but I understand. It's funny. And the one interaction that I truly remember trying to open a card for someone, which is really like where problem solving kicks in, is a woman who only had one name, one legal name. Her driver's license had one name on it. So, almost like Cher or Madonna, but I can't remember what her name was, but there was no last name. And I remember we were stumped. We were kind of saying, oh, look, you need a last name. And so we had to get on the phone and call people in the home office. And I was saying, no, her driver's license has one name on it. And then after, a little bit of time getting everyone in the line to go to another line, I said to this woman, you're getting a credit card today, because I wanted to get my $25 bonus. And so we defied all odds and got someone who didn't have a last name, a credit card.
That's incredible. So problem solving, innovation, taking initiative, and getting your $25.
And getting the bonus. Give people a bonus. They will get stuff done. Yeah.
Yes. Incentivizing them. Absolutely. All right. So I have to ask, what Pinterest boards do you have? And what's on your Pinterest? If a little, if it's not, if it's private.
Yeah, no. I will share with you my top use cases. So, home decor, as evidenced by this. I keep pointing the wrong shoulder.
That's it.
So home decor is really big for me. I'm at a point now where I'm not buying new stuff for my home. I'm trying to actually accumulate fewer things, but I do like to freshen up my space. So I'm always trying to get ideas as to kind of how I can take what I have, move it around, display it differently, and kind of make my home feel like kind of fresh and updated periodically. So home decor is a big one. Fashion is another big one. Whether it is kind of what to wear to the Renaissance tour, when I went to see Beyonce, and then realizing that you had to hone that in and say kind of, okay, I'm over 50. What do I wear to the Renaissance? Because I learned very quickly 25-year-olds are wearing something that I probably shouldn't be wearing. So, kind of what to wear.
I hate when that happens.
I tried, but I just thought this isn't for me. And then sometimes I buy something. For example, last year I bought silver pants, and I buy something and I'm thinking, what do I do with these? I want to wear them, not sure how to wear them. So then I'll go on Pinterest and kind of get inspiration and ideas for that. Travel is another big one for me, either for upcoming trips, places that I want to go, because they're just displayed so beautifully, and people are sharing really good ideas around the top 10 things to do in Tokyo. I recently went to Ghana, the top 10 things to see in Ghana. And so that's been another fun one. And then during the pandemic, even before I worked at Pinterest, I was all about recipes. So, making different salads, making salad dressing from scratch. I got really good at making miso glazed Chilean sea bass. So just kind of getting a lot of recipe ideas as well.
That's awesome. I am going to start, or soon we will start, Your First Job Pinterest board.
I love it.
I think we're going to do that. I think that it would be a great use case for it. Yeah. We don't have one in this moment, but we are going to start one before this episode airs. Wanji, you have been, as expected, a extremely delightful guest to have on Your First Job. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your insights about career. Any parting words as we sign off today?
Oh my gosh, I would just say, you know what? I want everyone to live a life that they love and to be inspired and to find joy and to give joy. So do not let anyone deter you from your goals. If you have your mind set on doing something, going somewhere, being someone, kind of set that goal and go for it. You can do it. I am living proof of that.
You are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leilani. Appreciate it.
Your First Job is a production of Giant Steps, LLC, a company working at the intersection of strategy, culture, career, and education. I'm Leilani Brown, CEO and host of the show. Many thanks to our executive producer, Sam Osborne, our production team at Relics Corps, and to Maxwell Brown for composing and producing our show music. You can learn more about our company and the podcast by visiting giantstepsllc.com. Thank you for listening.